Welcome to HowStreet.com Radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is David Smith. He's the senior analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. Welcome to the show, David.
Hello, Jim. It's good to be back.
A couple of things we want to talk about. The Silver Summit that was held in Spokane last week. And you're concerned about a new tax regime in Mexico. Well, first of all, let's talk about Spokane.
Well, the attendance was down a bit from last year, but there was a lot of positive energy there. We had some great speakers, had a lot of exhibitors of different companies, and some of the ones have continued to do well even in this challenging environment.
What did you find that people were most concerned about?
Well, they want to know, when it's likely that the metals are going to break out, hopefully to the upside. Gold, silver, and copper have established a broad trading range since the end of June, actually. And silver is held above $19. It's around $22, $23 now. Gold is held above around $11.70. It's 13 something now. And copper is holding in the mid $3 range. And several of the presenters there made some compelling arguments about things as they are and where they might be headed. Leonard Mellman, who Canadian listeners know is a very well-known technical analyst, presents at a lot of the conferences in Canada, stated his belief that, we're at what he calls a critical phase, because we've seen 50% retracement in the case of gold, and gold, silver, and copper are all at very important price points. They really need to hold the levels that they've established late in the summer, and they need at some point to break out above the resistance areas, which in the case of silver will be around $25 to $27 an ounce, and gold probably the mid 1400s, and copper around $3.40, $3.50. And if those metals break out above that, he believes that we'll see a very substantial increase in prices and a new bull leg underway. And it's difficult to predict just when or even if that will happen, but he feels the odds favor that it will. And so we'll be watching very closely, because these three commodities, which are all very important for our analysis, are forming what have the potential to be W formations, a double bottom that looks like a W in the charts. And if the apex of that W is broken out on the upside, then that would confirm the levels I just discussed. That would confirm the probability of a very powerful new uptrend in the resource sector.
Is it true that silver usually leads the way when precious metals really start to climb?
Well, it can, although oftentimes it's gold that kind of, sets the pace. There's like a 90% correlation between the price movement of gold and silver. And of course, copper is known as Dr. Copper because of its ability to give us indications about the health of the global economy. And it's really difficult to predict with the use of the rise of the ETFs and whatnot, just how much of the metal sometimes is going into actual utilization as opposed to storage. But my bias is to the upside, but I think it's important, and we've talked about this a number of times, for our listeners, and I think it bears repeating again. It's a lot easier sometimes to, rather than try to predict something, to really react to it. And so, a person thinks, we're going to see a move to the upside, so they put every cent they have into metals or into the mining stocks, and then it doesn't happen right away, or maybe it takes a different shape, and then they have a hard time with that emotionally. They may maybe sell out at a loss or whatever. So it really helps to keep some money back, no matter how sure you are that something's going to happen. And then once it does happen, once it's confirmed, and if it's valid, it's going to last for quite a while, then you can go ahead and put the rest in. And you may not be able to buy quite as cheaply then, but it seems to me that it's a good way to balance out holding on to your psychological capital as well as your financial capital.
We're chatting with David Smith. He's the senior analyst for the Morgan Report. David, you said you're concerned about a new tax regime coming in Mexico.
For the last few months, the Mexican legislator has been debating adding a tax regimen to the producers, the resource sector producers there, and it would heavily impact all of the producing silver and gold mines in Mexico, both domestics and foreign-owned. And they're talking about a tax that could be as high as 7.5% on production profits, and eliminating some of the credits that explorers and producers receive when they expend their exploration monies, and a variety of other little nicks and gouges, and we don't know exactly how it's going to settle out yet. The thinking is it's going to be around 5%. We should know by about the middle of November when it works its way through the legislative process and reaches President Nieto's desk. So it's just it's not helpful, and they're doing this in an environment where prices are weak, and the net effect is going to be that it's going to affect the bottom line of all the miners. It's the stronger ones are going to be able to handle it. The weaker ones might be problematic, and I also think it's going to raise the bar substantially for exploration projects that hope to go into production. So I think it's very ill-timed and ill-thought-out, and I hope that the Mexican politicians will come up with something that's semi-reasonable as opposed to doing something like this, which is just one more way to nick the people that are spending all the time, money, and effort and taking the risk to produce those precious metals for the world.
Yeah, it's nice to chase away the people who put all the money into it.
Yeah, there comes a time when it isn't profitable to do the work anymore, and we've seen this happen in some of the other countries in South America, and I think it behooves the politicians to try to come up with some balance in the way they approach things so that they don't end up killing the golden goose, which is certainly always a possibility.
Thanks a lot for chatting with us, David.
It's been good speaking with you, Jim. Have a good day.
My guest has been David Smith. He's the senior analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. You're listening to HoweStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. You can contact us at info@HoweStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.